Both valves have been rebuilt. The exhaust valve right here and the intake. And the springs have been checked. Also, the spring, I don't know what they're, these are spring stops, I think. And the keepers, and you can see on the bottom, here is your exhaust, here is your intake. On this, I got these wrong the first time I did them. They've also been ground. And if you really want to check your valve job, see if it's okay, remember that these springs or these valves are under tension right now. What you can take is it's a blue dye, and it's a common name for people that do valve work. It's aluminum dye, some kind of thing like that. What you do with the dye is you would go on this side right here, and you'd put a little bit in the intake port right there, and then you'd see if you have any blue dye leaking around the intake port. If you do, that means that the valve isn't sealed correctly. Then with the exhaust, it's the same thing. You put a little bit of blue dye down into the exhaust port right here, and if any blue dye shows up around the valve seat and the stem, or valve seat and the valve face, then you know you have a leak. That's one thing you can do. But I remember I was talking to a friend of mine who's a motorcycle mechanic for a lot of years, and he said, "Look, Randy," he goes, "remember that this is not a Ferrari. That this is the size. This is the size of the Honda RUCKUS piston, and it's not a high-performance engine. Therefore, you're not putting a lot of stresses on the engine. The Honda RUCKUS was designed to be a very strong, stable, and long-term engine that can run off of one piston, taking all the abuse or all the work and not breaking. If you want to buy a Honda RUCKUS rather than, say, a cheap knockoff, it will cost you probably twice as much. You can get a Honda or you can get a knockoff, which I imagine they make them probably for $1,400–1,500. But if you want the real deal, it's going to last you 5, 10, 15, 20 years, like my Dio right here, my Honda Dio Elite 50 in the United States. Then you're going to spend about $3,000, and plus tax or licensing, whatever else they try and screw you with. So I'm going to go post these, and then I think I'll take a walk with the wife, and I'll come back, and we're going to rebuild the camshaft right here. Here's the camshaft that goes in here. I will explain how the camshaft works. Beautiful little piece of work right here. It's got bearings on both ends. I'll explain how it works in connection to the valves opening and closing, and how the camshaft works in connection to the piston. And once you understand how these things work, then you can better understand how the engine itself works. Because remember, an engine is basically just a giant air pump. Well, not this. It's a small air pump. But that's why they say that a 500 cubic inch engine produces more power, because more air and fuel go through it. But we want to build an efficient air pump, and we want to do the damn job right. That's why these videos take so long. And most of the videos are about, I don't know, they're about 3 minutes, because the attention span for an average YouTube watcher, and this is statistically, it's about 2 minutes and 20 seconds. So I don't want to make a real long video where you're bored to death about everything. You can glance through and say, oh, okay, that's how that works. But I'm going to teach you the dynamics of why the engine does what it does, and show you visually why it does what it does. And then when you go to rebuild your own RUCKUS, or you want to work on the transmission, which is right here, which we're going to rebuild. I'm going to rebuild it just for the hell of it. Or I'll show you how the transmission works, and I will tell you and show you. Then you're going to have a better understanding. It's an amazing, these bikes are amazing little bikes, and they're not common in the United States, because everyone wants a big truck. And they do have huge trucks. Or the kids have Acuras and Integras and things like that in high school. They don't have motorcycles, like in the rest of the world. Okay. And I'm going to listen to some more tunes. That is a cool thing. Later.